Let's go. Let's go. Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3.
1 2 3. Test 1 2 3.
Let's go.
Friday night NPL Victoria men's action here from Jack Edwards Reserve. We are into the final 3 weeks of the season, and still there are a few things to be sorted out in these weeks, as Oakleigh not yet absolutely locked into a finals position just yet, but 1 point to get from their final 3 games will lock them in to September action, while for Altona Magic, they are trying to save themselves from relegation. Still very much a possibility that they could go into the drop zone in these final 3 weeks of the season. So wins are paramount in these remaining rounds as we enter round 24 action tonight. Jordan Canellis with you here from Jack Edwards, streaming right across the world on YouTube. Great to be with you. Oscar Rutherford alongside me. Hello, Oscar. How are you?
I'm very excited, Jordan, for what should be a really exciting night of football, of course. As you said, not a huge amount riding on this result in and of itself, but for Oakleigh, it's really important that they start picking up some wins again. They've had a bit of a struggle over, well, really the large part of the season, but particularly the last couple of months, and they want to seal up that home elimination final rather than risking Preston leapfrogging them, of course, and having to go to BT kind of reserve. But for Altona, as you say, they've almost done the job and secured safety and their status in the top flight for next season. So still a bit of work to do for both of these teams.
Absolutely. Both teams wanting to get back onto the winners list after going down to their respective opponents last week. 1-0 in both matches. Oakleigh playing Dandenong City last week, and then Altona Magic against Avondale. So both wanting to get back in the winners' books, and both necessary to do so, as we said, with there's still a bit riding on the remaining 3 weeks of the season as we are underway here from Jack Edwards Reserve. Altona kicking us off, and Oakleigh already chasing down the kickoff. Altona in their all-white away strip, and Oakleigh in their home kit of navy blue. Couple of changes for the away team tonight, Oscar.
Couple of changes for Altona, as you say. William Thomason and Dayan Bakar-Danikoski both starting on the bench tonight. They've been replaced by a couple of attacking players as well, and Anthony Frangi and Chris Theodorakopoulos. So some attacking moves made by Altona. They have, of course, really struggled when it comes to scoring this campaign. An extraordinary number of games in which they've failed to register a score, and of course the lowest scorers in the division as well. So hopefully with a couple of those changes they'll be able to pose a bit more of an attacking threat. But it's, of course, at the other end of the pitch you've got a lot of work to do against Oakleigh at Jack Edwards.
And in that lineup, Kawaguchi from left back last week, or left wing back. They were playing a back 5 last week. Goran Lozanovsky's Altona Magic. They've switched back to a more regulation back 4, and Kawaguchi swaps from left back to right back tonight. Looks like Gust has gone into left back, which he is capable of playing both on the wing and at full back. So that's been the change in the back 4 for Altona tonight. Johnny Stoichevsky and Taufik Omalawewe, I beg your pardon, are at centre half.
Got there eventually.
Did get there eventually. So Altona looking to make the first statement of the night, first spell of possession in the opening minutes. Here is Stoichevsky over to Olamawewe. Stoichevsky, who's been such a fixture for Altona Magic for such a long time. Captained the club before, current vice-captain of the team this season. Long ball down the sideline from Olamawewe, and Kawaguchi just fell over at the wrong time. So Oakleigh will look to counter-attack. And Olamawewe has missed it, but Stoichevsky backing him up. All the way back to the skipper, Christian Rossi. Sinclair, who was so dominant in the centre of the park last week. That's a nice ball over the top from Boyce. Looking from the run down the outside for Guest, who continued on. And a high ballooning cross out of play. Yeah,
and of course Oakleigh coming into tonight unchanged starting 11 for Chris Taylor. We know that he's course, notorious, not a big fan of rotation, but clearly trying to get some flow and rhythm into this starting 11 set of players who you can imagine he'll be leaning heavily on when it comes to finals football. And coming off a loss against Andy City, they've been struggling to put the wins together. So I really think these next few weeks, and particularly the 2 weeks after this when they play some of the big hitters in the comp in South and Heidelberg, will really tell us a lot about where Oakleigh are at going into September. Here is Joe Guest leading the Oakleigh charge forward as he attempts to slide the pass through for Matthew Dench's first real involvement, but quick off his line is Christian Rossi. Rossi, who will have come away from Altona's loss against Avondale last week a little bit disappointed to have conceded the goal in the manner that he did. And what was on the whole a fairly solid showing from the Magic against Avondale. Of course, Avondale with their massive game against Heidelberg tomorrow afternoon. Dench looking forward towards Duratovic. But Altona, well, they've been good in the opening few minutes of this game, just spending some time on the ball, making life fairly uncomfortable for their hosts. Sent forward by Alomawewe. And the attempted turn from Shepherd doesn't quite come off.
So forward half territory again here for Altona. Kawaguchi tries to flip it over for Shepherd. One of the mid-season signings for Altona Magic. He's been in the squad for the last couple of weeks. The Canadian, Owen Shepherd. Brought him over from Corio, where he spent the first half of this season, his first year in Australia.
I mean, no doubt part of that to try and address some of the goal-scoring woes for Altona. He's only got the one league goal to his name, so hoping to add to some.
A speculative ball forwards. There was a miss there in defence from Altona. Guest tried to take the early shot. He was blocked. Sinclair keeps it moving forward and hooked away. Altona out of the danger area for the time being by Kawaguchi. Dench competes with Shepherd. It's going to be an Oakleigh throw. It was Gust who just couldn't clear his lines. Swung a wayward boot at it and missed, so it's put the pressure on Altona, and it's going to be kept on here by Oakleigh. Out on the right side, and a flash across the face of goal. Christian Rossi was eyeing that one closely. Altona, Oakleigh, the first warning shot of the match 5 minutes in.
Yeah, I think Asad Kasimovic, the man cutting in on his left there, and as you said, flashing just wide of the post. Christian Rossi will be grateful to have seen it off target, but just a couple of moments where Oakleigh have threatened early. Altona letting some of the Cannons attackers in behind. You don't want to be presenting too many opportunities to this Oakleigh attack. Rossi gets us back underway with the goal kick right up to the halfway line. And it ends up thundering off the torso of Owen Shepherd. These two teams did meet earlier in the campaign, back in round 11 at Paisley Park, and it was Oakleigh who got the better of the meeting on that occasion. A 2-1 win. Joe Guest and Alex Salmon, the scorers for the Cannons. So it was George Sitsinaris for Altona Magic. He's not in the matchday squad tonight. But this is Dench with a clever run to get towards the penalty area. The attempted clearance, bit of friendly fire on the way out for Altona, but they eventually get the ball clear. Holmes in the middle of the park for the Cannons uses Dayu and Hampson on the left-hand side.
Impressive by Holmes to be back in the team this week. It looked like he was knocked out last week. He was taken off after a heavy collision.
Ball sent forward for Guest, who tried the inboard header towards Adem Duratovic, but the Altona defence was quick to jump on the ball. The whistle there coming in from our referee, Pia Gadirian, assisted tonight by Ben Lepaleo and Nicoletta Soteropoulos, as well as fourth official Bailey Panuto, and that will present Oakleigh with their first real dead ball opportunity of the evening.
They are dangerous from dead ball scenarios. And you've got Joe Guest standing over the ball. The captain, 14 goals this season. This is too far to be scored from. But he is second in the Golden Boot. He'll set this one up instead, though. Tried to go the low and hard drive, didn't beat the first man. So Altona will attempt to scurry it out of play. It goes out of bounds for a throw first. Bilal Habib is lining up on the left wing. He led the line last week for Altona, but he's playing on the wing this evening. Anthony Frangi coming into the starting team is the focal point of the attack as they work one in again. Oakleigh just peppering that 18-yard box. That was favouring the goalkeeper all the way through. A central run being made just to put some caution to the wind, though, from Joe Guest. Stoichevsky. Olamawewe. Got a bit of movement up ahead from Shepherd. He looked to honour that run down the sideline, but the ball was too heavy from the centre half.
It's certainly been the preferred outlet for Altona in these opening minutes, hasn't it, towards the Owen Shepherd run. Haven't quite been able to make it work up to this point, though.
He does bring a lot of pace to this team. Perhaps the fastest player in the 11 tonight for Altona. Referee Gadirian is going to call them back here. So the way things stand right now on the table is Oakleigh have 42 points to their name. They sit in fourth right now, but not totally locked in just yet to finals. Sitting in seventh is Dandenong City, who are 9 points away with 3 games to go. So obviously those 9 points can be made up if Danny City win all 3 of their remaining fixtures and Oakleigh don't get a point. But then there's also goal difference to be sorted out as well. That's where it becomes a bit unlikely for Dandenong City to make it and Oakleigh to miss at their entry into the top 6. So in all likelihood, Oakleigh's going to make the finals, but just want to put a bow on it and get that point.
Well, we mentioned in the introduction as well the importance for Oakleigh of sealing 4th spot to get the home elimination final when they play what looks like will be Preston. It's so tough to go to BT Connor Reserve, and of course the first big event in terms of a finals game now that the Lions are back in the top flight, and they've only got that 4-point gap above Preston, and whilst that should be enough with just 3 games remaining, they need to win tonight, Oakleigh, considering those games against a red-hot Heidelberg and South Melbourne to come in the coming fortnight.
Here's Habib down the left wing. Can't quite push past Boyce. It'll come back to him though, Habib. And failed to lay it into the feet of Gust. Sinclair breaks up the play, then El Hawley breaks it up again. Altona still on the ball. Olamawewe back to Stoichevsky. Advancing down the far side. The first time they've really ventured down the left side, Altona. Now they'll switch back to the near side for the run of Kawaguchi. First time ball into the front post. The turn and the shot from Frangi back into the starting 11 tonight. Off target. But it was a great piece of build-up play from Altona, working their way around from left to right and then quick once they got into the final third.
Yeah, once again, that right wing, the preferred outlet. This time, though, it's Kawaguchi getting onto it. And as you say, the snapshot from Anthony Frangi. First real look on goal for Altona.
Frangi leads the way with 5 goals this season for Altona, their leading goal scorer.
Well, we're, of course, from a neutral perspective, hoping for goals tonight. It's maybe not the most likely considering, in particular, Altona's record in games, both scoring and conceding. It's really remarkable considering they are the lowest scoring team in the division. I think it's just the 19 goals from 23 games. It's an extraordinary lack of goals for a team who's almost certainly going to stay up. And that's above a bottom 3 as well, as opposed to the usual bottom 2.
Goalless in their last 3 games as well, Altona. So it's been it has been a month since they've last scored a goal in the league.
Here's the thing, you look at some of the highest scoring games, there was the 4-0 win against Melbourne Victory, the 3-2 against Green Gully, the 3-3 with Port Melbourne Sharks. So they've had a handful of occasions where they've got pretty much half of their goals. The vast majority of games, though, it's been a real struggle at the attacking end. You expect it to be similar tonight. It's really tough to put the pressure on Oakleigh Cannons at Jack Edwards Reserve, of course. been a decent enough start getting that Anthony Franchi shot on goal, but at the moment it's the Cannons looking to make their way forward. Holmes cleverly playing it off his opponent to win Connor Hampson the throw. Thinks about using Guest, instead goes longer towards Duratovic, and Stojcevski stepping out of the defensive line. A referee happy to blow the whistle if Altona wanted him to, but instead they'll take the advantage. There's a ball over the top for Shepherd, and it's a first involvement for Jack Wachorski. Shepherd continuing to be a bit of a nuisance going forward for Altona.
Yeah, indeed. Just in that passage of play, he was right on the shoulder, right on the line of that back four for Oakleigh, and giving Dayu plenty to think about. Had him scrambling almost all the way back to his 18-yard box.
Once again, Oakleigh looking to work their way out through the combination of Holmes and Hampson. They've given it away now. Anthony Franchi pulls the trigger. You can see what he was aiming for. That top left was open, but in the end, a little bit too much height on the shot.
He's trying to get that radar on early, isn't he, Anthony Franchi?
Happy to take a shot when he sees an opportunity.
As he should as well.
Yeah, you can blame him. As you said, leading scorer. Comes with it certain rights and privileges. And he's making full use, Anthony Franchi.
Wachorski gets us back underway. Kawaguchi competes there with Dench. Duratovic tries to find Guests. Just couldn't quite telegraph it on the way through to his captain. Guest. Hampson. Duratovic for Guests. Back to Duratovic again. And cut out by Stojcevski. Kamara breaking up the play. Kept in by Oakleigh. Duratovic to Sinclair. Neat touch to open up a yard on Habib. Looking to loop it over the top. Well positioned was Olomawewe and did very well. Denies Oakleigh.
Just spending a lot of time hovering around the final third at the moment, Oakleigh. Just making life uncomfortable for Altona without really threatening the goal too much.
And that has gone out for a corner for Oakleigh. So first corner of the game. And it's going to be Joe Guest who takes it. So where are the options? Ajak Dayu and Matthew Dench both have a bit of height about them, both pretty lanky operators. They're standing at the top of the 18-yard box. Guest will send this one in deep to the back post, maybe overhit it a fraction. Hampson throwing himself in the way. Duratovic brought to grounds. Not really acknowledged at all by Gadirian. Thought that was a fair enough challenge. Altona clear their lines. They'll chase it all the way back to Wachorski. Takes a touch. Brave on the left. He's coughed it up. Here's O'Hawley trying to race through midfield. He's worked it out to the near side. Habib denied by Hampson, who was getting back. And there was quick recovery in defence from Oakleigh.
Yeah, real nervy moment for Jack Wachorski. Just totally scuffed that clearance and right into the middle of the park as well. Not exactly where you want to be giving the ball away, but Oakleigh scrambled defensively just well enough. Altona looking to continue to apply some of their pressure. Exchange between Kawaguchi and Kamara. Now looking a little bit more centrally before recycling it all the way back to the veteran, Johnny Stojcevski. So Altona looking to spend some time in the Oakleigh half. It's a bit of a wasteful ball though. It's a straightforward claim for Jack Wachorski, and the Cannons will be able to reset from the back again. In a game where you're expecting to spend so much time on the back foot, wanting to really make the most of those moments in possession. This is Hampson for Oakleigh. Dench trying to pick out Guest, but not a whole lot of space in which to operate. Hampson this time goes a little bit more direct towards Duratovic. Guest was hoping to pick up the scraps, but Stojcevski taking no chances.
keeping their shape for the time being, Altona's defence. Doing pretty well so far to protect that 18-yard box, I'd say. Oakleigh certainly asking a lot of questions, but Altona so far have answered most of them.
Yeah, Lomowewe and Stoichevsky have been heavily involved, but they've stood up to every task they've been set up to this point. That one bouncing off the back, I think, of Joe Guest before almost falling into the path of Habib. Instead, it's the Cannons who will make another foray forward, this time through Kingsley Sinclair. Spending a lot of time on this near side of the pitch. Been fairly starved, has Asad Kasumovic on that right-hand side as we see an opportunity on the ball. It doesn't last too long. And Theodorakopoulos' pass is overhit.
Really like Kingsley Sinclair's game. He's an all-action midfielder, isn't he? Just always thinking about getting the play going and wanting to move forward, taking on opponents.
Yeah, and really shown his versatility as well, which has been of great use to Chris Taylor. Seen him play in defensive roles as well as in the middle of the park.
Well, I reckon probably his first season or first half season he spent at left back, wasn't it?
100%. Playing in those fullback roles. Really thrown into the deep end in NPL Victoria, but took to it like a fish to water, you might say.
Altona bring it back into play. Given away quickly. Here's Holmes. Kasumovic gets on his bike down the far side. Holmes puts it down that channel, but it had a bit too much behind it and straight through to Rossi. Olomawewe goes back to his goalkeeper, who's been the captain of this team for the last 2 seasons, Christian Rossi. Stoichevsky. Nothing obvious further ahead for Altona, so they'll just try and pry something open here from Oakleigh, or just go all guns blazing. The long vertical. Nothing to be gained from it.
Jordan, I'm sure no one else is thinking of it, but I do just have to address the fact that I did say a fish to water about a minute ago, and I'm not really sure that's what the expression is for. So I'm just going to point that out and say I definitely meant a duck.
You are right, actually. Now it just, clicked in my brain.
Look,
I didn't even notice.
Exactly. I made it a bigger deal than it needed to be. You could have just let it slide.
You could have. I think a fish has no option but to take the water.
There's no take it to water for the fish. It's that way or the highway.
Oakleigh moving it quickly from side to side. Hall trying to weave something forward here for Guests. Stoichevsky steps up quickly. Theodorakopoulos dropping in from the number 10 role that he's taken up in the starting 11 this evening. They're being pushed back here, Altona. And they've got themselves in a bit of trouble, but it's going to come back to Rossi.
Well, I think if you're Goran Lozanovsky, you're pretty happy with the first 21 minutes of this game. Halfway through the first half, they've not really been threatened in any meaningful sense. There was that Kasumovic shot, there was the corner as well, but on the whole, they've really kept Oakleigh at bay up to this point.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty even. You might say Oakleigh's had just a fraction more territory and possession in the last 5 minutes, but both teams have had about 1 or 2 sort of meaningful shots on goal and pretty much shared the possession, so I think you're right. Nearly a quarter of the way through the game.
Altona now with some time of their own in possession. You know, the tendency to head towards Owen Shepherd, and it's where they go again. It's played inboard towards Theodorakopoulos. Theodorakopoulos, such a valuable asset in a team that does struggle for goals like Altona, because he can really just take the ball and do almost anything. He's one of those players who has magic in his boots, and on his day can produce some really special stuff. A little bit of frustration for Altona as there's miscommunication between Kamara and Shepherd.
clearly a good enough player, isn't he, Theodorakopoulos? He's played in the last couple of years some of the lower teams who have been relegated, the likes of Moreland City and Manningham United, but has obviously shown plenty to keep himself in the top division and be looked at by the top division clubs.
Definitely has, as you said, doing that swap between the two relegated teams last season. Christos Theodorakopoulos before heading across to Paisley Park. Hasn't quite been able to fire as he maybe would have liked up until this point. But he remains a threat every time he takes to the field.
Yeah, 20 goals from 75 appearances at NPL Victoria men's level, which is a good record, but just the 1 goal from 18 appearances this season. So just slowed up a little bit, but as we've said already, Altona, it's kind of been the story of the whole squad this season, lack of goals.
Just to finish on that point about all those 3 games where Altona did score 10 of their goals, if you take those 3 out, it's just 9 goals in 20 games, which is an extraordinary record. Again, particularly for a team that will be fine this season, probability suggests. They are now looking to make their way down the left-hand side through Habib. Has Boyce for company and effectively got around him. Cross sent inside, a real shot, a goal. Well, the man we were just talking about, Theodorakopoulos, was in the right position, got his boot to it, side-footed it, looking to pick out the bottom corner, but narrowly off target, and a golden opportunity goes begging for Altona.
Yeah, really good build-up from Altona, closest they've come. Theodorakopoulos feeling his way into the game. Was a bit quiet the first 10 minutes, but the last 10 or so has been better from him. Here's Guests, who's always on. He'll get it back here as well, Guests. Squares it into Holmes. Hampson spreading wide down the left. He goes there. Shepherd held him up. Here's Kingsley Sinclair. Taking them on through the central channels. Guest out to Kasumovic, and that was well met by Alex Gust. Timing his sliding challenge to perfection, cutting it out.
Yeah, another one of those really helpful utility players, Alex Gust. We've seen him play in a few different positions as well and can provide some real industry in the middle of the park. But as you saw just there, a really well-timed defensive challenge too.
Looking to attack this side of the field again here. Oakleigh running out of room that time. Sinclair. Scoreless after nearly half an hour. Anthony Frangi navigates his way around Boyce. Plays it through to Habib. Cuts it back, looking for Shepherds. Just a bit behind. And Hampson was there. Here comes the counter-attack for Oakleigh. Dench is on his bike. He's got 2 in the middle. Doesn't know where to go as Altona cover really quickly. They get numbers back in a hurry, and it's halted Dench in his tracks. And then Hampson is apprehended by Kamara, who keeps it in the field of play as well. And now the counter to the counter. Here's Theodorakopoulos. Hasn't got much support. It's nearly a 6-on-2 just about. Having to go it alone, Theodorakopoulos. Just buying territory. And giving Ajak Dayu a big headache. That was some frenetic stuff from both teams. Just lacking numbers in attack, really, on both occasions.
But some really solid defending from Dayu, as you mentioned, using his body really smartly and just driving Theodorakopoulos into that corner where he didn't have anywhere else to go. As you said, the lack of numbers inside meant that he couldn't just pull the trigger and put the cross in, and Dayu used that to his advantage expertly. This is a matchup that the Cannons have dominated in recent years. 11 of the last 12 competitive meetings between these teams won by Oakleigh, as we see a thud into the advertising board and the side fence. Some real concern. And a fairly innocuous incident, and throwing yourself at the ball to try and win it.
That would be Matthew Dench.
Matty Dench a little bit worse for wear.
The advertising boardings that are placed up around the chain link fence ends up being a hindrance. Had they not been there, he would have just probably been caught by the chain link. They're not too hard, those advertising boardings, so he's up and fine, just brushing himself off.
It's a goal a couple of seasons back where, as part of a celebration, I think at Altona, there was an act of throwing yourself into the fence. This was a little bit less planned by Matthew Dench. Once again, Johnny Stojcevski getting himself in the right position to draw the foul. Once again, relieve the pressure on his teammates. Just to finish that point on the 11 of the last 12 meetings that have been won by Oakleigh. The only win in that time for Altona, the end of the 2023 season, that game at Paisley Park, and then a few weeks later, they met again in an elimination final here at Jack Edwards, which Oakleigh won 5-0. So they didn't take too kindly to being beaten by Altona, did the Cannons. Got the weight of history against them tonight, Altona.
I was there that night. I called that game, and it was a one-man show. Alex Salmon, 4 goals.
4 goals, yeah. If you want the last league win for Altona at Jack Edwards Reserve, you've got to go back to August of 2010. So an extraordinary gap, of course, some time spent not in the same league, hence that's increased the number of years that there might have been otherwise, but it's safe to say not a happy hunting ground for Altona.
Yeah, well, there was about 6 years, I think, in between where they didn't meet because of Altona being in the lower tiers. And just on that, to sort of expand from that, so they've been in the top flight now for 6 or 7 years. 2019 was when they rejoined. Just one finals appearance, which is what we just spoke about a moment ago. So they've been in the division for a while. And I'm sure the fans are wanting to see some progression made soon.
Yeah, look, it's a fair point when you're wondering about Altona's season. They should be fine again, as we've mentioned a few times. There was that one season where they were saved by the bell, more or less, the COVID interruption stopping, as we see, the attempt for the clever through ball played by El Hawley, and Altona are continuing with their attack now. The ball in towards the goal. Wachowski got a double fist on it, and eventually Oakleigh get the ball clear, at least momentarily. Again, looking for Kawaguchi, who continues his run, but Kingsley Sinclair was clever to get it to Hampson. And Oakleigh looked to have done enough to have averted the danger for now. But during one of those COVID seasons, which was prematurely curtailed, Altona looked dead and buried early on in the campaign. There was still a little while left to go, but they have managed to secure themselves, consolidate their status as a top-flight team. They did make that finals appearance, as you mentioned, Jordan, which ended maybe not quite how they would have liked, but maybe scope for some more upward mobility for Altona in the next couple of years, you'd say?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a proud club as well, so it was a big deal when they came back up to the top division, 5-time champions of Victoria. So looking to try and restore some of that prestige. The legend at the helm as well in Goran Lozanovski. Stoppage in play as picking himself up is El Hawley. Gets up feeling a little bit ginger. Mohamed El Hawley. Ten to go in regulation of the first half. Searching ball for Dench. Hampson recovers. Duratovic. Sinclair. Dench again, tight confines. He's been bundled over, and it will be a foul for Oakleigh. Kawaguchi is making his case to the referee. Did approach front on, but it's just a bit over the top, says the referee. So another set piece coming up for the Cannons.
It just does tend to invite the referee's whistle when you go in like that, kind of full body lunge. Making it a decision for the referee that he'd be happy to take, and as you say, presents the opportunity for Joe Guest, just making sure that the ball is placed correctly.
So a step in from the sideline, Joe Guest. You send this one into the penalty spot, and it's nodded away by Kawaguchi. Dayu will try and recycle it. Neat touch on the edge of the area. Kasumovic back to Dayu. Chip pass from Kasumovic, and that attack in the end withers down to nothing for Oakleigh, who never got a shot near the target from that set piece.
Definitely a first half that I think will have frustrated Asad Kasumovic. Most of the play coming down the left rather than down his right flank, and as a result you kind of put that extra bit of pressure on yourself, don't you, wanting to make the most of your opportunity, encourage your teammates to go towards you a little bit more often, and that's just led to a lack of end product up to this point, although to be fair you can say that for most of his attacking teammates as well up until this point.
We'll try from the right side, a long ball in the Dench direction, picked up by Hampson. He'll whip it in. Rossi scrambling, gets a fist to it. It falls. Kasumovic blocked by Rossi. Nodded away by Gust. Kept alive for another heartbeat by Sinclair. And hooked away by Altona. And that has been kicked on the roof by Frangi. And Rossi, the goalkeeper for Altona, is down in back plate. Well, that's the most threatening chance that either side have had in this first half. They got that close, Oakleigh.
Yeah, well, what a chance for Asad Kasumovic. Christian Rossi did really well to recover. He'd come flying out of his goal and tried to get the fist clear. Didn't make enough contact to clear the danger, and had to carry on despite having fallen over a couple of his teammates, I think, really, which has left him a little bit sore, but looking as if the shot stop is good to continue.
Kept alive on the sideline. Hampson skitters in, looking for Juratovic, who wanted the first time shot, and the diving stop made by Johnny Stojcevski. Desperate defending from Altona has been effective in the last couple of minutes, keeping the scoreline locked at 0-0.
Just upping the tempo a little bit the last couple of minutes. Oakleigh getting some more threatening looks on goal. Altona will be very grateful to have this moment to take a little bit of the sting out of the game. As we see the throw-in taken on that far side, obligatory mention of how nice the grandstand, the new grandstand, is looking over there. Nearing completion.
Looks fantastic, doesn't it?
Certainly make nights at Jack Edwards that little more special.
Yeah, can't wait to see that grandstand full alongside the one that we're sat in right now on big league nights. I'm sure there'll probably be some big finals matches in the NPL to be played here in the future, plus cup matches, Australia Cup matches.
Yeah, well, of course, Oakleigh have been as good as any team at making those deep runs in the Australia Cup, as good as any NPL team at taking on A-League opposition here at Jack Edwards. There were those games against Sydney FC, MacArthur as well. And you can imagine even when those nights come in the next few years, just elevated that little bit by having that extra grandstand.
I'm no expert on venue requirements, but I imagine this will probably become a candidate for grand final days and Doherty Cup finals and the like.
See the lights along the steps. It looks like a real high-quality venue or addition to this venue, as we see Altona once again trying to pick their way through with the Alomawewe long ball. That one, though, overhit and will be a simple collect and goal kick for Jack Wachowski. Get the sense Oakleigh almost a little bit flat at the moment, and you have to give a lot of credit to Altona for that. They've taken the sting out of their hosts, a team who have been piling in the goals their last couple of games here. Of course, back-to-back 4-0 wins against high-quality opposition as well, Hume City and Preston Lions. Their last couple of Jack Edwards reserve outings, Oakleigh Cannons, but Altona are edging towards the halftime break with their clean sheet intact.
Yeah, maybe just a little frustrated by what they've been faced with from Altona's defensive stand in this first half. They probably feel like they're the team on top right now. I think just as the first half has lingered on, they've been putting forward the most dangerous chances, but Altona has stopped them.
Yeah, I think it's a great point about how effectively Altona have disrupted Oakleigh's momentum whenever they've looked like getting a few shots in a row. This is Juratovic using Guest. Guest looking to switch it on to his left. Back to Juratovic, who fired the shot at goal. The sprawling bodies block the ball away, and yet again Altona get the ball clear.
Another example of what Altona's been doing in this first half. It's been scenarios like that have been increasing in frequency, where Oakleigh get it close to the edge of the box or in and around the final third, and Altona's there closing down quickly.
Again, the ball sent forward. Gust was in prime position ahead of Kasumovic and happy to shepherd it behind for another goal kick.
Could Guest have taken the shot first time?
He could have done, but you saw the temptation to get it on the left and the curler to come in. I thought it was clever positioning by the defence to just invite him to take that shot, but it's clearly not comfortable doing it and trying to tee up Juratovic instead.
Here's Hall. Sinclair. Quick passing broken up from Oakleigh by Stoichevsky. Theodorakopoulos will reset. Olomawewe. Kawaguchi. He'll swing it back out to the far side. Stoichevsky. That's a vacant area down that left side for Altona. Altona quick to press up, wanting to keep Oakleigh pinned back in this defensive third. And Boyce, who was wanting to take the throw quickly, has been denied that chance. So Altona wanting to tighten the screws with about 5 to go. Could also spring a counter here if Altona aren't careful, and they might not be careful right now as Hampson comes barreling down this left side. Early cross comes in, again denied, knocked away by Altona. That was Stoichevsky putting a foot in. Holmes. Oakleigh have shifted the field quickly. Sinclair. He's got Dench. Back to Holmes again. There's about 3 or 4 Oakleigh attacking players lined up on the defensive line of Altona. Trying to put that high pressure on. Hampson again looking for the first timer and denied by Kawaguchi. Hasn't quite worked out for him, those first time crosses for Connor Hampson this evening.
Yeah, but these last 5 minutes, real tough for Altona, having defended really solidly for the entire first half. It's so easy to let your concentration slip, and just one little moment where Oakleigh can make you pay.
Hampson once more, denied, throw. Altona, obviously, at the very least, looking to go into the sheds square at the break. Given away cheaply. Guest out to Kasumovic, steers it in, headed up and away by Stoichevsky, who's just been positioning himself perfectly.
He's copped a few blows for it as well, Johnny Stoichevsky. Good thing he's battle-hardened from his years of NPL Victoria football.
The defensive warhorse, 32 years of age, Johnny Stoichevsky. Just knows where to be. Sinclair can't break that midfield line. Seized back by El Hawley. His pass didn't favour Habib. He's recovered all right though, Habib, but he's having to let the traffic flow past him. Counter-attack dies down, so Altona will attempt to build up here from the back.
Alamawewe so often starting these attacks. He goes a little bit more conservative with his ball forward this time. It could pave the way for Theodorakopoulos. So nearly in behind the Oakleigh defence, and even then it almost deflected into the path of Kamara. And even in these moments where Oakleigh are certainly on top of the general play, Altona still posing just a hint of a threat on the counter-attack. And that ball from Kingsley Sinclair, he won't be eager to look back on the replay anytime soon.
Not his best. Tough option from Salu Kamara to try and flick it through such a tight gap, but let's see what the thinking or the thought process was from the midfielder.
Ball forward for Frangi, who copped, I think, a little bit of an elbow to the head as he was attempting to win that ball, and that's why there'll be a brief stoppage in play to assess the Altona forward.
It's all been a pretty fair first half as well. No real spite. Not many fouls, actually.
Yeah, really just most of the knocks and blows just happening in the course of the game and defensive actions and the like. Certainly hoping it's just a bit of a stinger for Franchi, and he's back on his feet in a matter of moments.
Yeah, seems to be okay. Anthony Frangi.
With the delay, we're into the final minute of the first 45. Maybe we'll get an extra minute or so of stoppage. For those kinds of incidents, you'd think it would be appropriate. Also the injury to Matthew Dench, of course. Fortunately, all 22 players who started the game still on the pitch. Maybe one more good look at goal for the Cannons before half-time. Hall sending it out towards Boyce, who leaves it instead for Kasumovic. Kasumovic goes with the cross along the deck. It's awkward for the Altona defence. This is Dench. Again, back across the face of goal. The header comes in. And Oakleigh grabbed the lead just before half-time. A wonderful move, finished off by Brodie Boyce at the far post. The fullback stayed up, having contributed to the build-up play. And in the final minute of the first 45, Oakleigh Cannons go 1-0 up.
They finally break through. They've been peppering, they've been trying, especially from this left side a lot, which we've spoken about through the first half, and that's where the cross came in from. And it was the opposite fullback, Brodie Boyce, approaching, and it was a commanding header through the air. You just knew that with the timing of the cross and the positioning of Boyce, that it was always going to favour Oakleigh, and Rossi was out of position, couldn't recover in time. And that's a lovely finish from Brodie Boyce for his first ever goal at the level.
Well, how often do you see it? Teams defend staunchly against Oakleigh here at Jack Edwards, and then towards the end of the first half or towards the end of the game, the crosses just start to cause some cracks in the opposition defence. And Brodie Boyce there to take the opportunity, and that'll make things a little bit calmer, you'd say, for CT and the Oakleigh team heading into half-time.
And they'll feel that they deserve that as well. Oakleigh, they've been the better sides in the latter stages of this first half. As far as an attacking perspective goes, Altona have tried to match them in defence, but Oakleigh have been the aggressor. They've been the one commanding the fight, and they get their goal. And on the way to getting at least that 1 point that will secure finals football for the Oakleigh Cannons in 2025. Altona will try and muster something in the dying embers of this first half. They're denied at the midfield zone, though, by Oakleigh. Olamawewe looking for Shepherd. Hampson and Dayu protect the football. Dayu pings one in low. A bit more sort of frenetic pace here for Altona as I know they're running out of time before half-time. They want to try and get that momentum on the counter. Dyer a little... No, he's done all right, actually. I thought it was nearly slipped from his grasp, from his control, but he did well, and that ends the first half here at Jack Edwards Reserve. So what was a pretty tight arm wrestle through the first half hour or so, Oakleigh started to edge their way on top through the remaining 15 minutes, and Oscar, that culminated in Brodie Boyce's first NPL Victoria goal and a lead for the Cannons at half-time.
Yeah, look, I think really an enjoyable first half of football. Obviously different approaches to the game, but Altona, even sitting back and absorbing a lot of the Oakleigh attack, still showed some attacking threat. And yeah, now they have to come out with a different game plan in the second 45, of course, trailing the game, needing to get themselves...
Let's go. Let's go.
Back for the second half here at Jack Edwards Reserve, and it's the Oakleigh Cannons who lead 1-0. Brodie Boyce's goal right before half-time separate the two teams. Just to recap the context of the season, this is the third last week of the home and away season in NPL Victoria men's. Oakleigh need 1 point from these last 3 games to secure their finals spot for September. So in all likelihood that will happen, and of course with the 1-0 leads, they've done half the job tonight to get themselves there. Altona in the relegation battle. They are 2 games clear of the bottom 3 right now, so safe enough, but still not totally safe. They want to try and get their own bank of points in the last 3 games of the season. Jordan Canellis with you, Oscar Rutherford with me. Hello, Oscar.
Yes, Jordan, it's a big night, of course, for the relegation battle as well, not just here at Jack Edwards Reserve. You mentioned Altona, 6 points clear at the start of the night. Both Melbourne Knights and Port Melbourne playing tonight. So depending on those results, we could see a confirmed relegation, but Melbourne Knights might have just saved themselves in the last few minutes at Hume City.
The cross comes in as Oakleigh look to double their leads, not far away. That was just wide of the left-hand upright as they look at it. Oakleigh, Adam Juratovic getting onto the end of that cross.
Yeah, really from nowhere, wasn't it? Just a long-range cross in the Altona defence, not yet set up, not quite ready to do much of the defending that they did in that first half. Just to finish on that point, it did look as if when Hume City went up at Summer Street against Melbourne Knights that the Knights were about to be confirmed as going down, even despite Altona losing this game. But with Altona now losing and Melbourne Knights equalising against Hume City, it's not yet having a team confirmed as down with a couple of games to remain in the season.
And there'll be some critical clashes in the final 2 weeks of the season beyond tonight, as Altona will play Port Melbourne and Melbourne Knights in the final 2 weeks of the season, so they could be major swinging games for the relegation battle, as Altona looking to attack and the flag goes up for offside.
Well, it really does emphasise why Altona would really love a point from this game tonight, where they've been more than competitive with Oakleigh up to this point, just to take some of that pressure off heading into those 2 games against teams fighting for their survival. It won't be easy for Altona at all if they're going into those games still not yet secured with their safety.
Skimmed off the head of Asad Kasumovic, so a throw for Alex Gust. Kamara bundled off the ball, but illegally so. Had some moments in the first half, didn't they, Altona, but just weren't able to pile it on really in the second half of the first half, if that makes sense. So the first 20 minutes or so, they were probably going at a level pace with Oakleigh, but as Oakleigh started to get on top, they just wilted a bit, Altona. Sent forward by Olamawewe. An aerial battle missed by Kawaguchi allows a chance for Guest. Knocked forward and flicked around the corner for Dench. Hasn't got anyone in the centre. He's got Kasumovic down the far side. Dench will send it in that direction, but sliced off the outside of his left boot and over the top of the crossbar, out for a goal kick.
Yeah, you mentioned those chances for Altona in the first half. Probably the best, the one that fell to Theodore Akopoulos. He just side-footed wide at the post. There was also the Frangie snapshot. He did get a couple of real good looks in on goal. But as you say, just faded as the first half progressed. See Christian Rossi getting play back underway with the long goal kick up to the halfway line. It's an opportunity here for Kasumovic. Kasumovic fires on goal, and Rossi forced to palm it towards the corner flag. Dench keeping the ball in play and looking to send it right back into the mix. Instead, he'll have to settle for the first corner of the second half.
Found some space. Kasumovic down the right. He's struggled for a bit of that in the first half. Had little pockets here and there, but nothing consistent. But that was one of his most involved efforts of the night.
Guest with the outswinging delivery. There was the leap and the head, I think, coming off Dayu, but nothing coming from it.
It's been one thing they haven't done that well tonight is set pieces. Oakleigh, it feels like pretty much every set piece they've had about 2 or 3 corners and 2 long-range free kicks. Never really tested the Altona defence from those scenarios.
Yeah, of course, such a feature of their play under CT, the long balls into the box, whether by a set piece or just across in open play. And I think Altona need a lot of the credit for how they defended the set piece situations, but of course there's only so many open play corner scenarios you can defend, and that was ultimately their undoing towards the end of the first half, as this man, Brodie Boyce, put Oakleigh ahead. It's been a promising start to the second 45 for the Cannons, pinning their opponents back in their own half, and Guest now almost able to send through Kasumovic again in space on the right-hand side. Rossi sends it long and high towards Shepherd. The attack doesn't last long for the Magic as Dench surges down the left for the Cannons. The ball in, narrowly missing out on Guest on the edge of the penalty area. Holmes uses Boyce. Back to the central midfielder, who puts Jordan Hall under a little bit of pressure, but he deals with it highly effectively with Anthony Franchi closing down. The ball through, though, leaves a little bit to be desired. So Altona probably getting back into that pattern that we saw for large parts of the first 45, sitting back and absorbing the series of Oakleigh attacks. And do, of course, need to continue to pose those attacking threats, though, as well. But haven't really been able to get out of their own half in the first 6-7 minutes of this second 45.
Rossi, not a convincing clearance. It's given Oakleigh a golden chance here. Kasumovic keeps it low, and it's steered away at the front post. Could have gone anywhere, that sliding interception from Johnny Stojcevski, but did well enough to push it behind the byline, and a corner for Oakleigh.
Well, how brilliant has he been tonight, Stojcevski? He's been throwing his body, trying to block all sorts of attempts, and that sliding attempt, as you say, it could have gone anywhere, but he did so well to control it just wide of the goal.
So can they threaten a little more here from the corner? Oakleigh. Well, they can't, as Stojcevski once again is Johnny on the spot. No pun intended. Here is Ajak Dayu looking to recycle it and get it back in. And he's got Shepherd dancing around on the edge of the box. Dayu looking for Juratovic and heaved away by Kawaguchi. Kamara mistimed the control. Wrestled to ground by Ajak Dayu.
Feeling a lot like the end of the first half, you'd say, up to this point, Jordan. It's Oakleigh doing all the attacking and making life, well, attempting to make life uncomfortable for Altona, but they're doing a decent job again at avoiding those high-quality chances from materialising. Of course, over the course of a 45-minute period, though, you can see the cracks begin to appear, and he certainly did at the end of the first half for Altona.
Rossi opens himself up and goes out to the far side. Hampson was advancing quickly. Thrown in. Dayu well positioned on Theodorakopoulos. Juratovic accidentally slips over against the Olumuwewe challenge. Just keeping an eye on the front four for Altona. So when they had it in their possession in defence, noticing Theodorakopoulos getting very high, almost playing alongside Anthony Frangi. Do you reckon he needs to come in a bit more to help that midfield forward connection?
Well, you wonder if that's that change to try, when they do get the ball, Altona, and just hoof it forward and maybe pose a little bit more of an attacking threat. I'm not really sure that playing out from the back has been the Altona way all night, so I'm not sure it will make a huge difference for Theodorakopoulos to be dropping deep if that's not how they're looking to play. So I think it makes a lot of sense to have him high up the pitch and maybe latching onto a second ball or something, but they haven't even been able to get to that point up until now in the second half, Altona.
They give away possession here. There might be a chance. There is a chance for Oakleigh, and it was good positioning, great positioning from Taufik Olomowewe, who was going shoulder to shoulder with Joe Guest. Guest had an avenue into the 18-yard box, and he was out-muscled by the big centre-half from England. Can Altona try and capitalise? Here's El Hawley.
Once more, the Magic trying to find their way through Altona as El Hawley eventually pulls the trigger out to the right-hand side where Shepherd collects the ball. He was heavily involved in the opening minutes. Kawaguchi looking to provide the support, but the Oakleigh defensive twosome did their job. So Jack Wachowski will have his first meaningful involvement of this second half as he'll just send the ball up towards the halfway line. Of course, joining the Cannons in mid-season from the Central Coast Mariners, Jack Wachowski, the young shot stopper. Frangie attempting to pick out Habib. Holmes comes crunching in and has committed a foul on Theodorakopoulos. So that does present an opportunity for Altona now.
We've spoken about the dead ball scenarios and the free kicks for Oakleigh. It hasn't been really that many at all for Altona. A rare chance to put some pressure on from the set piece.
See the height of Theodorakopoulos and Habib, maybe a couple of the more likely targets. Olomowewe's there as well. Habib was the nearest to that header, but Oakleigh will very quickly spring forward through Kasumovic. Kasumovic has paddocks of space either side. He opts for Guest. Guest looking to get it onto his left boot. Back to Kasumovic. And that feels like a wasted opportunity for the Cannons. They had about a 4-on-2 it looked for a moment. And Kasumovic made a reasonable choice going to Joe Guest, but maybe just not on the right side for the man in the number 10 shirt. Given away, though, now by Oakleigh as Habib hopes to pick out Shepherd. Asks a lot of his winger, though, and Oakleigh will look to regain a little bit of control of the game, having lost it for the first time in the second half over the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Guest and Kasumovic were trying to work out, whether they were trying to look for the perfect shot. Altona were getting back, as that's going to be offside. Altona were getting back in numbers, but there were opportunities there for Guest on his right if he was brave enough to take that shot. Did cut in onto his left, but wasn't quick enough to get it out from his feet.
Yeah, not for the first time tonight, is it, that we've seen Guest, if you had that more confidence in his right boot, maybe could have had a better look at goal. I mean, it's hard to criticise Joe Guest for not deferring to his left boot. It's a pretty special weapon that he has access to.
Gust. Looked like it might have come off a hand. Referee lets it go, or didn't see it. El Hawley. It's a nice pass to get them out of a tight spot. Olomowewe, a long way up. Well, Shawski's come off his line, and he's in the end read that pretty well. He did back away momentarily, thinking it overcommitted, but it's worked out for him in the end. Just the one goal separating these teams. Brodie Boyce right before half-time with a headed goal. He's first at NPL Victoria. Switch of play looking for Bilal. There is Boyce. Bilal Habib couldn't Positioned himself well enough against Boyce. Sinclair. Nicely done by Oakleigh down the left. Hampson continues his run. Comes to an end quickly. Boyce and Habib continue on. And Sinclair, just a loose touch, has allowed a slight chance for Shepherd. And Shepherd's just left a trailing foot in. That's gone out of play as well, but also brought his man to ground.
Yeah, but a better last 5 minutes for Altona. They've unsettled the Oakleigh team a little bit, winning the ball back, or at least applying more pressure as Oakleigh try to work their way forward, and then very quickly looking to send the ball towards their own attacking players, the Magic, and that's just made things a little bit less straightforward for Oakleigh over the last handful of minutes.
I think the fullbacks have been very good tonight for Oakleigh. I think Boyce, just from what we saw there again in his battle with Bilal Habib, but also Hampson, I think, has really dominated his match-up on Owen Shepherd. Haven't really seen much from Shepherd tonight.
Yeah, other than that first 10-15 minutes, they've done a really good job at putting the clamps on Shepherd.
At the hour mark. Hampson preparing to take this throw.
What are your thoughts on Oakleigh's finals chances, Jordan? We know that they're a team who don't have to, be the best team in the league throughout the season. They've been champions 2 of the last 3 years, but finished top neither of those seasons. In fact, finished 3rd, I think, in both of them. So they're very good at raising their game at the pointy end of the season and timing their run. Is that something that you can foresee happening again this time around?
Potentially. It feels like there is quite a gap, though, between the top 2 and the rest, Heidelberg and Avondale. Heidelberg have been the dominant team, of course, this season, but it's going to be hard to try and dethrone those top 2. But Oakleigh's kind of, they are that sort of team where when they make finals, you're always wary of them because they can just pull it out at the right time. They've got the right coach at the helm. They've got the right personnel as well. Kasumovic, Juratovic, rifles one in low. And it's been picked off by Kamara. Here come Altona.
Springing forward once more, the Magic. There's space down the left-hand side, which is where the ball heads. Picked up by Gust, looking in board. Narrowly missing out on Theodorakopoulos, though. They could make another go of it here, Altona, as Habib is brought to ground. Referee happy for play to continue. This is Theodorakopoulos. Retreats to Kamara, and they look this time towards the right Altona, but the attacking move peters out. Really good transition moment for the Magic. That final touch not quite there, though.
Yeah, just to round out that discussion, I suppose. Is that how we're all kind of seeing Oakleigh? Is it doesn't really matter what sort of form they're in. Is once they're in, and they're going to be a threat?
Well, it's hard to bet against them in that sense, and it's a bit of a cop-out answer, but they've done it before, and it's hard to say why they can't do it again. They don't need to, as we say, look like the best team all year round. They're very capable of hurting you just by bringing it on the big day, as we saw in last year's grand final against South Melbourne, for example. Certainly wouldn't want to play them if I were Heidelberg or Avondale or even Dandenong Thunder. Basically, no one will. Ball through is a good one, and it's a desperate save made by Christian Rossi, very nearly for Oakleigh doubling their lead.
Yeah, that was a quick attack. Very quick from Oakleigh.
Corner taken short. Holmes with the cross, looking towards Dayu. There's an ambitious long-range attempt from Kingsley Sinclair, who sung his praises tonight. I don't know if that's quite yet in his arsenal.
And just on that previous attack, second time tonight that we've seen Rossi close down the angle at the post. It happened once in the first half. He got just wore one really from that first half. It took him a little bit to get his breath back. Here is Rossi, the captain. Kamara. It was a wayward pass. Kasumovic looking to make him pay. Hawley will try and clean up. It's done well. Here's Gusts. Chips one over the top. Flag goes up immediately. Just couldn't get himself back on side. Shepherd he was trying to use his pace to beat his opponent. They've swapped sides, the wingers. Owen Shepherd's come over to the left. Bilal Habib over to the right now for Altona. Back and forth between Boyce and Kamara.
Just to make a final point on Oakleigh's finals hopes, of course, they've been dealing the last month or so, of course, without Joe Knowles. Or pause that thought.
Here's Guests. Shot blocked first time around. Kasumovic. Duratovic will try and take over and squeezes away a shot, which was off target. And back in the possession of Altona. Not a clear-cut chance, that one from Oakleigh. Duratovic lost his balance in the build-up as well.
It's, of course, that man, Adem Duratovic, who's been getting his run over the last month or so with Alex Salmon's injury. So you wonder whether he's done enough and how much of a role he'll play.
Here's Kasumovic. Can't wriggle his way past and gives away the foul. Yeah, indeed, there are some big names still to come back for that are out of the team for Oakleigh at the moment. So, Salmon, you mentioned, Knowles, Cam McGilt not in the sides last week. He's back on the bench tonight, so we might see him in the second half if Chris Taylor wants to make the change. There's another name that you could bring back into the 11. Altona throw.
Speaking of changes, it looks like Altona are getting ready to make the first of the night.
One back by Oakleigh. Lobbed forwards. It's off the hand of Stojcevski, but referee Puya Gadirian said it was head onto the hand. Gus runs into Boyce. Guest. Over to Holmes. Keeps it flowing, but not enough purchase on the pass. Kawaguchi picks it off. Out to Theodorakopoulos. Wanted to keep the momentum going in that attack for Kawaguchi, but ill-directed pass. Dayu. Sinclair away to Hampson. Duratovic. Down the line by Hampson. No one there at the end point for Oakleigh. It's going to be a double change, it looks like, for Altona coming up.
Well, they maybe need the game to just become even that little bit more open. Altona, they've done a good job at disrupting the Oakleigh control that they had in the first 10 minutes of this second half, but still not getting those looks of goal that they'll need if they are to take something from this contest and secure their NPL status. That ball cleverly won back by El Hawley. It's a really good job reading it, but not on the same page as Frangie. How often has it been the case for Altona in the final third tonight? Creates the chance for the Oakleigh counter. Dench puts the cross in towards Duratovic. The offside flag is up as well, so it may not have counted anyway. And indeed, the offside is confirmed.
Here come the changes for Altona. And we're going to see Daniel Fabrizio and Julian Rodriguez coming on for Altona. So a couple of attacking changes, in particular Julian Rodriguez, a young forward. He's come through the youth pathways at Altona. Daniel Fabrizio, the New South Welshman.
Looking as if it's Shepherd and Theodorakopoulos, the two players withdrawn. So attacking reinforcements for Goran Lozanovsky. See, it's just about a front four that they're operating with now as they look to make use of the numbers. This is Fabrizio's first involvement. With those numbers in the attacking positions, though, it of course leads to even more space available to Oakleigh on the counter-attack. That was well handled by Olamawewe. Oakleigh readying a change of their own, perhaps at the next break in play as Holmes charges through one. Was met by a really stiff challenge that halted his attacking move. Well worked by Kamara, and with that, Oakleigh will be able to make the change of their own.
Just an Altona. Looks like pretty much a like-for-like in those changes. So Rodriguez goes to the wing, and Fabrizio takes up Theodorakopoulos' position as the advanced playmaker. And we're going to see Cam McGilp coming on for Noah Holmes, the change for Oakleigh. So centre mid for centre mid. Missed last week's clash, did McGilp. And it's Noah Holmes on sort of limited minutes, or at least knew that he was going to be the first one to come off, perhaps after his knock last week.
Well, with McGilf knocking on the door, it's pretty hard to keep hold of your spot for 90 minutes.
Yep. So free kick to be teed up here by Joe Guest. Another goal here would just about seal the game for Oakleigh, even with 20-ish minutes left on the clock in regulation. A lot of air in that one from Guest, right onto the goalkeeper, who has to compete with Dayu. Falls to McGilp, who unleashes. And that skimmed off the top of the crossbar. Would have been an unreal finish from Cam McGilp. Would have been an extraordinary way to enter the game with pretty much his first touch. Good hit, just didn't get the dip.
Yeah, it looked really good, didn't he? You could see it nestling in that top corner, just missing out.
Another handball waved away by the referee. Well, Hawley that time was the one that made the contact, but not enough to blow the whistle for Puya Gadirian. Olamawewe floats it out to the far sides, collected by Kamara. Now Kawaguchi. Running out of ideas, Kawaguchi has to go backwards. Habib presenting for Stoichevsky, ignores Habib, goes a little further onto Gust. Now Habib. Long crossfield pass. Frangie the target. Couldn't control. Hampson down the line. Buys some territory.
To confirm as well, with Hume's earlier draw against Melbourne Knights, Oakleigh Cannon's final spot is locked in. Wasn't in a whole lot of jeopardy, but now guaranteed to finish at least inside the top six. And Dandy City still drawing against Port Melbourne, so potentially top five locked in at the end of tonight, even if they aren't able to hold on to their lead, Oakleigh.
Well, good news for Cannons fans. It's an outcome that we knew was going to happen. In all likelihood, it was hype. I don't know what the win viz was on that, Oscar, but it's probably would have been about 98% that they'd be playing in finals.
I'd hope even more than that.
Probably 99.5 or something like that. I don't know how win viz is calculated.
We'll save that deep dive for next time.
Just dusting himself off Connor Hampson. And now play can get back into motion.
Jordan Hall there, that time to send it almost the length of the pitch. It's an awkward one for Christian Rossi, just making sure he and Stoichevsky were on the same page. Stoichevsky goes inboard towards El Hawley. Loses out to Sinclair, and you heard the thud of the coming together. Looks to be Boyce and Kamara, the two afflicted players. And that would not have tickled.
No, there's actually a bit of blood that's just been drawn on the white part of Brodie Boyce's sock on the inside of his ankle. So it sounded like a very sort of leathery clash. It probably was boot on boot, but might have been stud onto boot or stud onto ankle. Accidentally, of course. Really no malice in that. It was just two players going for the football, but it's there's a little red spot that's starting to just spread on the sock of Boyce. Don't know if the referee is going to issue any cautions here. That's why the referee waved over to the Oakleigh dugout to bring the physio out, just attends to Boyce's right foot, I believe it is, just obscured from my vision. Yeah, the right foot of Boyce.
Yeah, certainly the Oakleigh man who came off the worst of the coming together. Kamara still on the deck, but looking as if he'll be able to get back to his feet and hopefully continue in the game.
The goal scorer tonight, Brodie Boyce. If you're just joining us, he scored right before half-time. That's what separates these two teams at the moment, Oakleigh and Altona. Salu Kamara going through a few physio checkups to make sure he's all right. And that ankle's okay. Boyce a little slow to get to his feet, just looking imploringly at the referee about what might happen. He's going to get himself put in the book, Brodie Boyce.
All an incident that Brodie Boyce, I think, could have gone without.
Yeah. As he hobbles off with a yellow card to his name. And we'll go outside the field of play and be ushered back in by the referee, I think. Or is he just standing on the sideline? No, he's just standing on the sideline. So it's the full complement, 11v11.
Yeah, I think looking at the replay, a correct decision from the referee as well. Boyce just losing track of the ball and lunging to try and save it. Ended up doing a little bit more damage to himself than his opponent.
A bib for Gust. Gust gets in a good-looking delivery. Just goes over the heads of the target at the back post and Rodriguez. A re-entry, a bicycle attempt from Frangie, who almost gave Brodie Boyce another injury to wear. Spectacular looking effort from Frangie. Didn't make any contact at all, so it was amounted to nothing. And just a cheap thrill in the end as Oakleigh will take the goal kick.
That could have been a lot worse. Brodie Boyce, I think, very grateful to just take what he can get at this point. Should say a really good opportunity for Rodriguez at that far post. It was an excellent cross from Gust. And Rodriguez one-on-one. Maybe another player it would have better fallen to. For now, the scoreline remains 1-0. Just over 10 minutes of the 90 remaining. Oakleigh edging closer to wrapping up a much-needed 3 points. Getting themselves back on the winners list. For one back by McGill, but illegally so, according to our referee. So Altona will quickly get the ball moving again through Stoichevsky. Uses his central defensive partner in Alamowewe. And Stoichevsky looking to pick out Gust. It's an awkward one for the winger, and Jordan Hall very happy to escort the ball behind the line. Probably fair to assume that at this stage of the game, Oakleigh will be happy to slow it right down and not risk coughing up their advantage.
Just a quick one, Oscar, probably a worthy PSA for football fans in Victoria. No league action next week, correct?
That is correct.
Cup final weekend.
Opportunity here for Dench. Cross inside, looks towards Kasumovic. Very nearly fell to the winger on the opposite side. This is Guest now, back to Kasumovic, who gets the cross low. Rossi did well to snuff out the chance. Altona would have loved, of course, to have gone into that cup weekend with their top flight status confirmed. It looks like they'll have to wait a little bit longer for that and go into those last couple of games against teams fighting desperately to make a dramatic late escape. That ball inside is given away dangerously to Sinclair. Now Dench has the overlapping run from Hampson, instead puts it in himself, and Guest's header was on target, but Rossi reacted sharply. Very nearly a second goal for the Cannons, but instead the door remains ever so slightly ajar for the Magic.
Yeah, it was a header that was right at the goalkeeper, but it came with some pace, so Rossi still had to get the hands up. It almost went over his head had he not got the hands up in time. Can be a little awkward one, sort of at that half height, not quite at arm's length, full stretch for a goalkeeper above the head, so adjusted well. Christian Rossi. Altona will look to try and capitalise on a counter move. Nothing that will work out for them, and sent upfield by Kasumovic.
Just that last passage of play, Bilal Habib let out a real bellow at Anthony Frangi's decision not to turn and give the ball to him on the left flank when he had a little bit more space than usual. Tonight, very much reflective of the Magic season, a frustrating one to be an attacker.
Hasn't really been allowed to let loose tonight, it feels. Bilal Habib, you can sense the frustration, the man who's represented Somalia. Position out on the wing. And just found it tough sledding against these fullbacks. Here's a ball over the top, though, for Altona. Chip into the area, and there's just no one there. Habib was probably slow to get there. Right as I'm talking about letting him unleashed, he was way behind that attacking passage of play. Should have been his spot. Kamara will try and reset things. He falls over. Here's Guests. He'll scamper the other way. He's got Juranovic ahead of him. Kasumovic further out to the right. Goes in that Kasumovic direction, but just mistimes the placement of the pass. Cleared away by Altona. He'll come back through McGill. He's got Gust jockeying him, pressing on him. Sinclair flings it over the top, and that'll run out of play.
What a chance in that last passage for Altona going forward. Rodriguez suddenly found himself in a little bit of space. He made the right decision with the cross into the middle of the box, but overhitting it. The air almost went out of Jack Edwards' reserve when everyone saw the space Rodriguez had. The Cannons escape again.
Here's Guest once more, who just keeps on like the Energizer Bunny. Juranovic, Guest on that left side. Waited for the contact and got it. He just knew that there was that opponent right there. He knew that opponent, Fabrizio, was getting close. And drew the foul in a really dangerous area. It's about a yard or two in front of the D at the top of the 18-yard box. Substitution being made by Altona. It's going to be Dejan Bakadanakovsky who's coming on. Some height in defence. But a dangerous scenario here. Guests, Kasumovic and Hampson all hovering around this. It's pretty central, so it can be a bit tricky. It's a big wall, 5 in it for Altona. Looks like it'll be Hampson who strikes it. Strikes it pretty well, but just drifts wide of the post.
Once you saw it beating the wall, you almost half expected the net to bulge. Hampson rifling that towards the goal. And now Oakleigh will make another change of their own, it appears.
Thomas Alessandratos coming on for Oakleigh. Came on as a sub last week, quite a few times this season, as a matter of fact. He's going to replace Asad Kasumovic here for Oakleigh.
Yeah, I should mention Sally Kamara, the player withdrawn for Bakadanakoski. So some more potential from a set piece for Altona in the dying minutes. And Alessandratos, the mid-season signing from Port Melbourne. He's onto the park for the final few minutes. Juratovic with the acrobatic pass, looking to pick out the new man, Alessandratos. Habib for Altona. Gets past Boyce. Not so with Dench. And very nearly Sinclair able to release Guest. Neither team able to spend a whole lot of time in possession just at the minute. Charging forward is Hampson. The left-footed ball. It's a tricky one for Rossi, but he dealt with it really smoothly.
That was just about a non-target attempt from Hampson from the left wing.
When it comes with that much pace, it almost doesn't matter where it's ending up. It's just panic stations for the defence, but Rossi did a really good job to calm things down, and his opposite number, Jack Wachowski's, there to collapse on the ball. Had maybe a little bit less to do in this second 45, Wachowski, than he did in the first. Still, though, a few minutes to navigate if he is to walk away from tonight with a clean sheet. And his team with 3 points. McGilp caught late. And Oakleigh will be very happy to soak some more seconds off the clock.
I think Christian Rossi's handled himself pretty well tonight, actually. There hasn't really been... I mean, obviously he'll be flat that he's conceded 1 goal, but not really at his fault, I would say. I think pretty much everything that has come his way he's dealt with reasonably well.
Yeah, it's been a season where so much of the weight of the team has been left to Christian Rossi. When you are such a low-scoring team, of course, you back in your defence and goalkeeper to do their part as well and make your goals count. And they've done a good enough job at that this season, Altona. That's why they're in the position that they are. But right at the minute, things going very much in favour of Oakleigh. Into the final 2 minutes of the 90. And another dead ball opportunity for Joe Guest to deliver. And Oakleigh perhaps to ice the game.
So can they put a bow on it here, Oakleigh? This angle almost better than a corner, really, coming in from near the sideline. Doesn't beat the first 2 men there for Altona. Kawaguchi will poke it away, and there's a foul in there from Oakleigh on Bilal Habib. So as we approach the end of the 90, does Altona have something special here late in the game? Here's a ball over the top that they can run onto. Fabrizio makes his way out there. He's got Hampson for company. And Sinclair comes in as the third man in the contest and swings it away back up the other end. Holomawewe just ushers it out of play and does well to get it off Oakleigh last. Kawaguchi keeps the play rolling quickly.
Well, it's hard to argue that the changes of Fabrizio and Rodriguez have had no effect. They've certainly posed a different kind of challenge for Oakleigh, and maybe on another night they could have made better use of their opportunities, Altona.
Need to try and collect this ball in midfield. El Hawley trying to complete that task, but outnumbered. Long back pass. Wachowski had to get get rid of that one quickly. Olamawewe put his heads in harm's way. And the referee's not going to allow them to play on quickly while he's on the ground.
Well, if they're going to do it Altona, it'll be in stoppage time. We're about to find out how long they'll have. 4 minutes.
4 additional minutes for Altona to try and steal a point, as Oakleigh tonight will confirm their place in finals football for 2025. Thrown in by Habib. Here's El Hawley. Faces forwards. Gets a low ball in. Rodriguez controls it. Habib sends it in first time. Stoichevsky was trying to line it up, but Guest was better positioned. And now here's the counter-attack for Oakleigh. Down to the near sides. Alisandratos being forced wide. Cuts back in. And couldn't link up with Juratovic. Altona try and clear the space. They'll come again here, the Magic. Which avenue do they go down this time? They'll work it in. Well, they'll try and work it into the front line, but it was a wayward pass. And Oakleigh just getting it away from the danger zone. Rolling the dice again here, Altona. Long ball cast forward, but without much direction. Could fall to Guest. Flicks it out the side. Here's Dench. Guest makes his way into the middle with Juratovic. Dench will hold it up and buy time. McGilp. Hampson. Managing the game well here, Oakleigh. Dench will play it for the corner flag. Goes out of play. Time whittling away, Oakleigh with that 1-0 lead.
Yeah, they haven't looked especially likely to grab the equaliser, have they, Altona? They've thrown a little bit more at it in this last 20, 30 minutes. But at the end of the day, Oakleigh looking as if they will have done enough to pick up a much-needed win heading into those games against Heidelberg and South Melbourne in the next couple of weeks to round out the season, or that being the week after next, with the cup final to come. Stringing together a nice run of results at home as well, the Cannons. This will be a third win in a row, a third clean sheet in a row as well, if they can see out these final couple of minutes. Here's Gust. It was a desperate sliding attempt from Brodie Boyce, desperate to ensure that his goal is the match winner. Perhaps, though, Oakleigh will be able to grab a second before time is up. Here is Alisandratos. He went himself. You saw the idea curling towards that far corner. But at this stage of the game, an almost as good outcome is a corner. And the seconds will continue to tick by. Fair to say Oakleigh aren't in a rush to get this back underway.
Absolutely not. Altona have tried to throw everything at Oakleigh, but there just hasn't really been that connection, has there, up to the final third. It's been all desperation and not much direction.
They do have themselves a foul here, Altona, if they're able to launch the ball forward, perhaps. Give themselves one more look, time allowing. They've tried to sneak maybe 10 metres there, Altona.
Hoping more than anything that they can get lucky, Altona here.
Ball sent long towards Habib. Two players going at the ball, and Jordan Hall winning the foul, and you'd think that that will be enough for Oakleigh. There's another check of the watch from our referee. But perhaps when this ball is sent forward once more, it'll be Oakleigh wrapping up the 3 points and moving closer towards that home elimination final. And indeed, that is full time at Jack Edwards Reserve. The Oakleigh Cannons win a third straight home game. And very nearly now, we'll confirm that there will be a finals game here at Jack Edwards Reserve, perhaps with a new grandstand to boot. They've beaten Altona again. This remains a miserable hunting ground for the Magic, whose status as an NPL Victoria team for next season remains not yet quite secured. They showed plenty of defensive resilience tonight. In the end, though, the lack of attacking threat really coming back to bite the Magic. Jordan Canellis.
Yep, 1-0 win for Oakleigh. It's 5 wins in a row in the head-to-head now for the Cannons against Altona, and that confirms, which we already knew was going to happen, but they've just put a neat little bow on it, so the Oakleigh Cannons that they will be playing finals football in 2025, and Altona entrenched somewhat in that relegation battle. They've still got some breathing space on the 3 teams beneath them in the relegation zone, but that'll be their focus now with that 2 games to go in the season. But Oakleigh, they were tested a few times early in the contest by Altona, but I think Oakleigh were able to quickly work out what Altona had going for them and their strengths and weaknesses. And Altona, as the game went on, just never really found that connection up to their main attacking forces in the final third. So, look, wasn't probably the prettiest game that Oakleigh's put on the park in 2025, but it's a get the job done kind of win, and that's exactly what they did.
Getting themselves the wins ticking over as they head towards yet another finals campaign. But that's all the time that we have from Friday night football at Jack Edwards Reserve. Brodie Boyce's goal making the difference on the night. Full-time score, Oakleigh Cannons 1, Altona Magic 0.